Rev up your engines!
Jimmy G says, Scotty, I got a 10-year-old Prius. That thing's only getting 15 miles a gallon. Help! Well, those things should get 40-something miles at least. You got some serious problems. This is one of the reasons I tell people not to buy used Priuses. I don't know if you bought it new or used, but it's 10 years old now. Complex inside. Now, from my experience with those, you're getting that low gas mileage. One, you got a problem in the engine itself, the gasoline engine. The gasoline engine alone is going to get at least 30 miles a gallon, so it's not running right. Have someone check the fuel injection system first. I've seen the fuel injectors get clogged or go out. It could be that. To get the best gas mileage, the electric system has to work, and if that thing's 10 years old, I would also tell you, have somebody check the main battery, hybrid battery that's 200-something volts. When they go bad, then your gas mileage goes down quite a bit, but not down to 15. So you'd have to fix the engine first. And if a guy says, well, does a bunch of tests and says, well, your engine's worn out, maybe you didn't change the oil enough, I just get rid of the vehicle because hardly anybody knows how to work on those Atkinson cycle engines. Useless Cucumber says, hey, Scotty, what are your opinions on Firebirds? Back in the day, my best friend had a Pontiac Firebird. He loved it. It had a big V8 engine, and it was a 4-speed standard, which was big back then. 3 speeds were normal. This is a 4-speed standard. Had a 4-barrel carburetor. It was a gas hog. You could just watch that gas gauge go down when you floored it, and those barrels opened and tore down the road. He drove the heck out of it, and later, unfortunately, died of melanoma, and he gave the car to his brother, and his brother drove the thing around for years. Fine cars back then. Then, of course, they started making cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and the later ones from the 80s, 90s, a lot of them were just plain garbage. They didn't hold up worth beans, but the old ones were solid classics in their day. As a boy says, Scotty, my 2011 automatic Honda Fit hit 100,000 miles trouble-free. What do I need to get another 100,000? Well, keep doing whatever you're doing. Change your oil and filter a lot. On that thing, it's an automatic transmission. I would change the fluid every 30, 40,000 miles. It just drain and fill. You can do it yourself. It's a simple job. Use the Honda fluid because they're real particular about their fluid, and don't overheat the engine. I got a customer that's got 350,000 on a Honda Fit, and he's taking care of it. Obviously, you're not peeling out all the time, driving like a maniac. I've had customers ruin their Honda Fits, but because they were younger kids, and they just drove like lunatics, and they burned it out. If you drive conservatively in those, they can last a really long time. Hey, Scotty, I found a Toyota Celica 1990 GT, 232,000 miles for $2,700. It looks good, but is it a good car? 30 years old. It's way too much money. If you want a toy, and you're going to use it on the weekends, it's your money. Do whatever you want. You know, it runs good and still goes good. Why not? But don't think you can buy a car like that and use it as an everyday driver. It's 30 years old. And you said it's the GT, and the GT model has much more problems than the S model. The S model that I have is much more reliable than the GT model as it ages. Realize that. It's not as dependable. The parts cost more, and they break a lot more than the S model. The S model was basically a Toyota Corolla that can run forever. The GT model was a little bit racier, and they had more problems. Hi, Scotty, my Audi A4 2000 2.0 engine doesn't want to accelerate. What's the problem? If you have a car and it runs, but then it doesn't want to accelerate, a few basic things to check first. The first is just change the fuel filter. Because if the fuel filter's clogged, that's exactly what will happen. And that's a very simple thing to do. Now, if you change the fuel filter, it makes absolutely no difference. Then you would want to have the fuel pump pressure tested. Because if the pressure isn't enough, it'll do the same thing, and then you know the fuel pump needs to be changed. And also have a problem with the fuel injectors. If they're dirty, clogged up, they can run okay idling, but when you try to accelerate, they don't spray enough fuel in. Now for that, you really need a mechanic like myself. We run tests with our high-level scan tools to see what the millisecond flow rate is. We can analyze them with our freeze frame oscilloscopes to see if they're firing correctly, because if they don't have the right oscilloscope freeze frame data, you know, aha, that one's jumping off there, and you know that injector's bad. It gets really complex, but sometimes it's as simple as you need a fuel filter or an air filter, so always start simple. Jimmy G2, when he says, Scotty, my car runs perfectly fine until I turn the AC on, then it starts to bog down, doesn't run right. But if I'm driving on a highway with the AC on, it runs okay. What could be wrong? When you turn your AC on, it starts to strain the vehicle two ways. One, it drags the engine because it takes power off the fan belt to run the compressor. But it also uses electricity, so it strains the alternator and the battery. The first thing I'd say do, because it's the easiest, and like I always say, start easy, work up complex. Have the battery and alternator load tested. Places like AutoZone do that free. What the heck? Could be something that simple. Not that. then it generally means your AC compressor is starting to wear out. Now, when you're just idling, it's going to strain the engine more. When you're at a highway speed, your engine's going so fast that adding that drag isn't really going to hurt it all that much. But you never know. Could just be the alternator's getting weak or the battery's getting weak. Check that first. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.